Hi, I'm Lamar.
And I'm Megan, and we think that nobody gets enough love in the world.
We are MT3 Web Development, and we have developed a product that's going to revolutionize online dating.
So Lamar and I had just spent one too many nights with our friends listening to the horrible, although entertaining stories of their misadventures in the dating industry. And every night ended up with the same result, is that our friends were begging us to help them and to introduce them to our friends. Which this makes sense, because every culture before us has had some internal community system of matchmaking, whether it was a yenta or a priest or your Aunt Sally. But our culture, our generation, doesn't have that. What we have is the internet.
Now, the way that we are going to introduce this culture back into the internet is through our product, MT3. Now, MT3 is a website that combines the power of old school connections with the new school social networking. These connections manifest in a profile that, rather than containing your own perceptions of yourself, actually contain the perceptions of those three individuals that are closest to you.
Now, those three individuals can be anyone. So that could be your best friend, that could be your sibling, that could be your boss, that could even be an ex.
Now, these three individuals are going to provide a better picture of who you are to the outside world, which is going to lead to more valuable connections, more reliable profiles, and the connections that are going to last longer as a result of these reliable connections.
So I'm going to introduce you to my best friend, Danielle, because she is a perfect example. This is the photo that she picked for Match.com, and this is how she describes herself. She's great. She is a tough-talking New York lawyer, but she picked a picture of herself on the beach with her dog. She described herself as athletic. Well, she played 7th grade basketball badly and has not sweat since. But she's a great yogi and she spends every weekend doing that. But what happens is this comes through her own filter. And this just goes to prove that we are our own most inaccurate mirrors to ourselves. So yes, she can talk about being spontaneous, but that means that she planned a trip to Japan for 6 months. It was spontaneous and it was adventurous, but that's a different interpretation. So when she gets an email from somebody asking their first date to go run a 5K, she's shocked. But that's leading to inefficiency, because if we don't put out there exactly who we are, we're creating the smoke and mirrors that leads to a wasted time, where we go up and we meet people that we really have no idea who they are, after we've spent hours on the internet exchanging emails and things like that. So this is my picture. It's a little cut off here of my version of Danielle, but the picture actually looks like her, and it really embodies her energy, and that's why I love it. And as her best friend, I can speak to that, and you can really understand who she is versus what she's put on her resume. Because everybody knows that dating is essentially a job interview. And so by creating your resume, we're still listing all the bio, but instead we're providing the references. Instead of saying your references are available upon request, we're putting them in. So what we're doing is we're getting rid of all the smoke and mirrors. It's pretty much a given that in online dating, you read someone's profile, you assume that at least half of it isn't fake. It's exaggerated, it's not true. Like I said, we are our most inaccurate mirrors. And who are our best mirrors? It's our best friends. It's the people that care about us. So when we choose those three people, whoever they may be, all we need to know is that at their core, they're looking out for our best interests, and they really know who we are. And by doing that, we're getting rid of we're creating accurate mirrors, and then we're getting rid of that smoke. And what that smoke is those adjectives that don't mean anything anymore. You read someone's profile, and it says, like they're athletic, like in the case of Danielle. Well, what does that really mean? Does that mean I run marathons on the weekend, or does that mean I do yoga? And so all those words, when you have to check a box for who you are, you say nothing. And we've created this very empty environment for dating. And
so how do we get rid of that smoke? How do we create more accurate mirrors? Now, we have introduced this concept of peer review. Now, peer review essentially says that the ideas of our friends, of those around us, are more relevant, are more accurate, and are more accountable than those that we have about ourselves. This is what separates websites like Facebook from the isolated world of online dating. Facebook, you have a small network of 20, 30 close friends that you may have connections with on that website. Then you have this wider network of about 300. Now we have this peer review component on websites like that essentially hold you accountable for all of the information that you're putting out there. Now, introducing this component into online dating is going to take away the isolation associated with the one-on-one connections that rely completely on your own perception of yourself and introduce the ideas of accountability, reliability, and efficiency.
So let's break down exactly how this works. as a member, I'm going onto the website, and I select those 3 people. And what they are invited to answer 3 very powerful questions about me. Not my favorite color, but questions that really get to the heart of who I am. Now, I, as the member, have ultimate veto power. So if someone says something that I really can't come to terms with, whether it's true or not, I can't put it on the internet, I have that control, and I never lose that through this process. Now, however, if I pick Lamar, and Lamar goes through and fills out my profile, he also has the option to browse the website and make suggestions of who he thinks I should go out with. Now, I don't have to follow them up. I can say, you're crazy, I would never go out with him. Or I could say, not who I would pick out, but maybe I'll go down this path and see. I'll give you the benefit of the doubt that you do know me better than I know myself. And each of those individuals can do that. So with ultimate veto power, with that recommendation period question and recommendations and that period, you work community into a community event. So like just an example of one of those questions. Rather than knowing what Lamar's favorite color is, my favorite question on the website is, why did this person's last relationship end? Could you answer that? And does that tell you a little bit about who I am if you know that versus knowing what I like to do on the weekends? And maybe you can decide if I'm someone you really want to go out with.
Now, the online dating industry, online in general, has become more comfortable for us. We've become more incorporated into this online world where we now represent ourselves as virtual people online. It has increased the volume of communication that we see across the globe, but it has decreased the value and the quality of that communication. Specifically relating to dating websites, we have a stigma that's still there but slowly fading. The stigma of 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, do I want to look back and tell my friends and family we met on a website? That stigma still exists, but we are incorporating this component of peer review of having your friends, your family, your close loved ones represent you. So essentially you are meeting through your close friends. It's just happening on a website. Now, the industry itself, it is projected to become a close to $1 billion industry by 2011. We have a couple key players in the industry that have a huge market share, but they don't target any of their websites or any of their components to their websites. There's very little targeted marketing among those key players. But the barriers to entry in this industry are very low, as is with any web-based company. So capitalizing on things like low development costs and low overhead. Now, our target market is going to start here in the DC area. We are targeting specifically 18 to 45-year-old single working professionals in DC that make above $35,000 a year. Now, here's some breakdowns of what that picture looks like here in the DC area. But DC is a great place to start because we have this population that's relatively young, relatively transient in terms of being in and out of this city that may come here without those connections already existing.
So we are taking a very unique approach to marketing and advertising. We know that the big players out there, we don't need to say who they are. We don't want to come up in 10th in a Google search. That's not how we're going to approach it. We will utilize our print media in very specific strategic locations. So I want to go back to Danielle. When does Danielle want a boyfriend most? Let me tell you. I get the phone call when she is at baggage claim waiting for her bags to come back from a trip. She's like, I got to go home to an empty apartment. You know when you're waiting for your bags, you see those big billboards? That's where we're going to target. We're going to put our print media there, in the metro stations. We're not going to spend money on some of the mainstream radio to commercials and things. Most people in our peer group are too busy to watch TV. And those things are the things that just fly right over us. So in addition to those, grocery stores. That's when I get the call from Danielle. I can't believe I'm making dinner for one again. So those are things where we're going to utilize the, environmentally friendly bags with a puzzle piece in it. And everyone's going to associate MT3 with this puzzle piece, this connection site. And that's our brand. And the way we're going to do that is by really focusing on our street team. We have a small media blitz, a 6-week period. New Year's resolutions to Valentine's Day. That's when you want a significant other the best. All you're changing this year. So that is going to be our media blitz. And what we're going to do is we are going to create the branded experience, not just as a website. We're going to bring it into the culture. So that means that we're going to sponsor every amazing event that's going to happen in DC in that 6-week period. We're going to be at every sporting event, at every concert, at the most popular coffee shops. And these puzzle pieces are going to be showing up left and right. And I'm going to maybe walk by it on the subway that day and not pay any attention. And then that day I'm going to go to the coffee shop and there's puzzle pieces that somehow made it into my bag that day. So we're going to really focus on a street team because the website in itself is that community, but we're trying to take that stigma out of it and we're going to build that community. And that's going to help go along when we utilize our other partnerships under the business development like we see here.
During the 6-week period that Megan mentioned, we have a promotional cost of $3 a month for the website. Now, that is extremely below what is typically seen in the market. We have the other bigger players that whose names will be unmentioned, but typically cost around $30 to $40 per month. And most members have multiple accounts across different sites. Now, you may be wondering, why not offer it free? A lot of the sites claim to have a free introductory period. Now, most websites that start out free are either unsuccessful or aren't necessarily as free as they claim. Now, by introducing this $3 price point, we are adding value to their membership. Inherently, when something is free, you're devaluing it. You're telling these members that what they're signing up for has very little value. Essentially, $3 is enough to try it, but enough to give it some value for you. Now, it's, again, providing value for the brand. It's building our database. This 6 weeks period is a heavy promotional period to build the database, gain membership, so that at that launch date, on Valentine's Day, we have a strong platform, people browsing members, etc. Now, just briefly to go over our subscriptions, after this 6-week launch period, we have memberships that range from 1 month, 3 months, to 6 months, prepaid subscriptions that discount as they go. Our projected distribution is going to be 50% at 1 month, 35%, and 15%. Now, the cost for these fit in line with our theme of 3. As you've noticed, we've probably noticed that we've been talking about 3 a lot. Well, that's our brand. That's how we want to come across. And you notice that some of the price points and discounts reflect this brand. Now,
our membership goals are pretty aggressive. During that 6-week media blitz where we go put on the full court press on the DC arena, we're hoping to get 5,000 members in that time. And then after that, we'll be shooting for 2,000 members per month throughout the year. At the end of that first year, which essentially is our pilot in the DC area, but because of how the network works, we hope we will quickly spread nationwide at the end of that first year. All the revenue will be rolled back into the company for future development.
Now, to help with these membership goals, a critical component of the website is that it has an inherent viral component. Now, this viral component is something that a lot of other organizations and a lot of other brands strive to accomplish through outside means, but we've managed to build that viral component directly into our product. So let's say Danielle, for example, has signed up. She's created her tribe of 3 individuals who are going to represent her on the website. Although this is simplified, let's take, for example, one of those friends who otherwise would not be exposed to the brand, not be exposed to the website, then creates a profile for themselves. In turn, one of their 3 will create a profile. And now, from that one person, from Danielle, we've exposed the brand to 12 new individuals, 3 of whom have become revenue-generating consumers of our product. So this viral tool is critical in reaching our membership goals and, as Megan said, reaching other cities naturally as the website grows.
There's one crucial piece over here that I want to make sure that we really hit home, is that everything in our universe is ruled by peer review. So when we think about academia, when we think about where we go eat dinner, when we think about when we look in the mirror, we ask, how do I look in this? We ask other people's opinion, but for some reason that has not spread to online dating. And so what we are doing is we are adding in the peer-reviewed process into online dating, which really should be one of the most important things in our life, using these 3 people who are the most important people in our lives to help us find that next most important person. So when we talk about this peer-reviewed aspect, we really want to see that that is what sets us apart from all of our competition.
Now, just going back to the numbers briefly, we have some break-even points were we to offer only 1 month, only 3 month, and only 6 month membership. These are membership numbers for every $100,000 that we invest in marketing, advertising, and development. These are the numbers that we would reach, which are well below our goals for the first 6-week blitz period, as well as the additional months after that. Based on our projected distribution of 50, 35, and 15%, these are the combinations of the types of members that we would see on the website.
So just to summarize, we would really only have to get just over 2,000 members after our promotionals period to hit our break-even point.
And then the expected revenue, this does not include the costs, revenue from the blitz period if we reach our goals, and then the revenue from the first year, assuming we reach the goals that we set for ourselves. Now, in terms of the prize money today that we're all here for, that $20,000, the majority would go to essentially turning the business plan into a business model, most of it going to design and development, initial development, and sort of gauging that we're on the right track with our focus groups and things like that.
This is just our brag sheet. It says we know what we're doing.
So I'd be managing the development and the sort of the operations component. Megan would be more involved in the bigger picture relationships with clients, potential investors, things like that. We have an excellent board of advisors. that have helped us both acquire, so we own 4 variations of the website name. We also have started the process of intellectual property rights and other copyrights that we'll need down the line. And then Mr. Ortner here on the bottom has been, we've been connected through the business school competition, has been very helpful so far and has offered to continue to provide his help. So that's been very good for us.
So this is Me3. This is the website that is going to permanently change the culture of online dating. The web industry is perfect because it creates a low overhead, a low startup costs. And this industry is currently growing, and it will continue to grow because this isn't a trend. It's a part of us being human at our core. We're always, the faster our world gets, the more we're going to seek out human connection. So this industry is going to continue to grow. So we're able to take $20,000 and hit the ground running and turn this into a successful business and bring a little more love into the world.
So thank you judges and audience.
And Danielle, thanks you too.
So we'll turn it over for questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The fundamental assumption here is that people both are willing to tell their friends what they really think of them and that people want to hear it from their friends.
Absolutely.
That seems a bold assumption. How have you tested it?
Well, we've done our own unofficial focus groups with our, like I said, with our peer group, and this is exactly how the idea started, was that this is what we said. Now, when you choose those 3, you're not choosing blindly. You're choosing people who you genuinely believe want you to be happy. So we would hope that your peer group or your friends, you would have somebody in your community that genuinely is not trying to sabotage you. And the motivation would be 2 things. 1, you'd be honored to be asked to be a member of someone's tribe. That because when this becomes a part of the culture, it's going to be its own slang, its own vocabulary. So it's like when I would introduce Lamar, I would be like, Lamar's part of my tribe. Not my business partner, not my friend, not my colleague. He's he's in my tribe. And then all of a sudden, that's going to have a definition once we take over the country. And, and that's going to be understanding. The second motivation is that, like, isn't the grass always greener? When you're dating, you're kind of wishing you're single again. You're like, oh, I miss the excitement of that first date and those things like that. When you're single, all you do is you want to be in a committed relationship. And so this is a chance to do the other grass is greener. If I asked my sister to do this, who is happily married, she eats this up because when I do Match, I forward her the emails anyway. And her favorite Friday night is for me to go over, pop some popcorn, and we sit in there and we read emails and we look at pictures, and she tells me who I should go out with anyway. So what this is doing, it means that she can do it 24 hours a day on her phone, and I can get the email. And I can be like, no way, don't tell Mom. And so what we're saying is, yes, we're assuming that that's what our culture is about, and that's what we're craving, is that we go so fast and we have such a hard time making connections with people. So I would hope that everybody would have that out there, and if you don't, we're going to add in an extra premium where we'll be your friend. So you have to just go on a couple dates with me, and I'll write your review, and I will be honest, and I really hope you want to hear it. So yes, we are making a big assumption, but I have faith.
Quick question. I'm a little confused about the proprietariness of this. I know you got some good marketing ideas here, but have you thought through how you actually make this happen? Any software developments, any prototypes, or anything that kind of gets you past the concept stage and into a little more reality?
Sure. So we've had discussions and very thoughtfully laid out what the functionality and all the development will look like. One of the people on our advisor board is what we would consider an expert in web development, and we've mapped out exactly what needs to happen between now and January 1st of 2011 to get this off the ground. So all of these functionalities that we're talking about we've reviewed them, we've created flowcharts, we've done all the steps that we need to take pre-development to just run with it once it's ready to go.
So Cameron Wiley is our web designer, and he, just in the recently past years, has created from scratch essentially a high school version of Facebook. So we've been through this. We've started from the ground, and we both have been involved in this team, and so we know what it takes to take a website domain that has nothing on it and bring it to a fully functional social network. So that was our test baby, and now this is our round 2. So we've been through all those things. We know what glitches to expect, and we know how much time we need to put in, and we know that there will be some unexpected curves on that path as well. But we think we've got the team to handle that, and like I said, that's why our projection is for January 1st to February 14th that we'll have that. That essentially will be our beta window. Any other questions? I don't know if speechless is good. Oh, we got audience questions. Okay, over here.
How do you stop eHarmony or one of your competitors from adopting the idea and crushing it?
Well, that's why it's been an interesting process with our legal team to investigate how we IP, the idea, and how we copyright the brand. And we're not saying that we wouldn't be open to, creating an app that maybe interface with other things, but for right now, this will be our site. So we're pretty confident that we can legally make it tight enough that it doesn't get stolen from those things. But I think above all, rather than getting something stolen, is that we really do want this to be a new culture. That I don't like Match because I think it's a little bit of a meat market. And I don't like eHarmony because I think they're really judgmental. And if they're not open to some of my friends being on there, I don't want to be a part of their organization. So we really are trying to create something new and bring a product where I identify with, this is my dating website. And this is where I want to be. So I think proprietary issues and some of those stealing things we'll cover ourselves that way. But we really don't want it to feel like Match could make this work. eHarmony can't make this work. It's really our community, our culture. Okay, there's a couple over here. So,
how do you integrate with the existing social networks such as Facebook, MySpace, whatever? How and if there is any integration, how do you differentiate yourself from Thread, which is a company that is doing essentially the same, utilizing your existing network on Facebook to do matchmaking for you?
If I understand your question correctly, I think we're going to rely on the members creating sort of a bond with the brand. And sticking up for the brand and reflecting that through the social networks that they're already a part of. In terms of development, all of that will come as we actually develop the code and develop things. There's a lot available to make that happen, to incorporate into things like Facebook, other apps for the iPhone or other mobile devices. Things like that are very available and will be very easy to integrate once we begin development. But in terms of threats and brand integrity, I think that the relationship that we're going to build with our members between the brand and the way they identify with it will retain that integrity as they spread it through other people on their own social networks outside of Me3.
So I don't know, and this is a comment on Facebook, which I love, but if we have 300 friends on Facebook, which includes your grandmother and your boss and things like that now that we're getting in this kind of gray zone of social networking, I don't want my dating site built into Facebook. I want an own site for my own security and for others. So although we do want to utilize this power of this community, I still want to have that control. I don't want to give up that control that the whole world can see this. I want to say these 3 very specific people who I want to share this with. So for right now, that's why we do not want to be a link to Facebook or those kind of things. We want to make sure that strategically we have the technology to make that happen at some point if we decide to go down that path. But for right now, we want to be our own destination site.
Just because it's not going to do him any good, it's not, definitely not going to do our friendship any good. So how do you get past that, either as a user or as a friend that's asking for a referral?
Right.
So I think that when you are the member and you're approaching your 3 individuals, you're placing a certain level of trust in what they're going to say. And what I think you're asking is, obviously you're going to say great things about your friends. Now, the idea is that we're incorporating someone else's perception of the great things about you. So we don't want them to be so brutally honest and destroy your last relationship as a result of this. We want them to say that, someone is a little bit more abrasive than they claim themselves to be or something like that. So the expectation is that you are representing your member that you're sponsoring in the best light possible, but by providing 3 separate pictures of what that means, it's just giving an outside perspective that's different from what they might claim if they were creating their own website, relying on their own mirror to define who they are on these sites.
It's giving a context to those comments. So I want you to think of your best friend, this douchebag you're talking about. And I asked you, can you just describe his sense of humor? What does he find funny? Okay, so give me can I put you on the spot?
Yeah, sure. I guess he has like a very sarcastic sense.
Sarcastic. Great. I hate sarcasm. I never get it. It makes me feel stupid. I always miss the joke. I take things literally. I'm not going to go out with your friend. Done. Thank you. Because that just wasted my time. He could be smoking hot. And I'm like, I'm going to sit there there and he's going to make a joke and he's going to laugh at himself and I'm just going to be like, I'm sorry. And you know what? And somebody can say that about me. Danielle would say that. She doesn't get sarcasm. Don't even try it. So do you see what I'm saying? Like, there's so much power in that, but it's just, you got to ask the right questions. And so that's what we're trying to say. You're not sabotaging him because he wants a girl who gets it. He wants a girl that laughs his jokes, right? So you are helping him. You're not going to make him sound like, something he's not, because you're just wasting your time and you're wasting his time, and that's what nobody wants, right? Yeah.
Is there a backup plan if it snows for 6 weeks and not that does that here? But
I'm going to pray for snow, because you know what everybody does when it snows? You're locked in your house with your internet. So, but I see what you're saying. Do we have a contingency plan? Sure. I mean, there could be any number of things that happen between then and now, and there's nothing because we're not we're not brick and mortar. We have a lot of flexibility with that. So could we push our timeline? Absolutely. There's nothing that is locked in stone in that timeline except for our own ambitiousness.
Thank you very, very
Thank you.